So you can tell from my background that I like easy targets, engaging young people in politics and then straight into higher education. I like an easy job. So first of all, why outreach? Why is this an important part of getting students coming into university? Now, this quotation here is from the Higher Education Policy Institute. It highlights here that you're looking at student population, you're looking at abilities of the qualifications that they're gaining, enabling to access level 4 qualifications, and also the willingness. Now, if you measure that against the fact that we know that we've got a declining population of 18, 19-year-olds over the next sort of 4 years, by 2020 to 21, they think there's anywhere between 25,000 to 55,000 less young people available to get into university, and bearing in mind that this research paper was written before Brexit. So those numbers I've got from there doesn't actually take into account that as well. You've also got curriculum reforms. We've had curriculum reforms with GCSEs. We've also had them with A-levels. And again, that is in a fluctuating market that's happening over the next sort of 2 to 3 years. We're not really going to see students who've gone through this whole new process of GCSEs and A-levels up until sort of 2021 as well. So obviously that has an impact of the number of students potentially who are gaining the qualifications, because any curriculum change does impact on that. And then putting that against also the willingness of the population to go. So as Ollie has already mentioned, we've got tuition fees. Now we at Southampton have an outreach programme that goes from primary school, but we are using tracking evaluation from year 7. And as part of that, we're looking at attitudes towards higher education and barriers. And the 11 and 12-year-olds are identifying cost as the main barrier to them entering higher education. If you went and said to them, how much does university cost? How do you go about paying it back? They won't be able to tell you the details, but they are aware, because of the heavy media presence and the newspaper stories that we're getting, that universities cost. And they're already thinking at 11, this might be something that I cannot afford to go and do. And actually just today I was reading in the paper today, there is a very helpful news story saying that if you don't go to university, it doesn't matter, because look at these jobs you can get and how high paid they are without any degrees as well. And so you've got that sort of narrative in the media that these young people and their families especially are reading all the time. So why outreach? Well, if you're not doing outreach, how are you going to reach these young people? And first of all, the first thing I'll say is outreach is not recruitment. Recruitment is your UCAS fairs, your prospectuses, your open days, where actually you've got students who've already made that choice in their mind that university is something that they're exploring. Yes, you might be the thing that tips them over to think, actually, yes, this is amazing, I'm definitely going to go. But they're already open to that opportunity. Otherwise, they wouldn't have requested your prospectus. They wouldn't have come on the open day in the first place. Outreach isn't that. Outreach is looking at those students who really haven't even got university on their radar potentially, or are sort of scared off of it by the stories they see in the press. However, I'm going to completely contradict myself and say that outreach is recruitment, because outreach done well is going to recruit to your university. We know that the most disadvantaged students often go, about 60% of them will go, if they're going on to an HEI, will go to their local HEI. So if you're doing outreach in your local area, you're going to be recruiting students, you're going to be turning students on who have got the ability, but just potentially haven't got the confidence to go on to university. You might then say, well, hold on, what about the other 40%? I'm losing them to a competitor somewhere. Well, yes, hopefully those 40% have got the confidence to maybe leave their local area and attend a university somewhere else. But actually, if everybody is doing outreach well, we're all going to benefit from each other, because you're going to benefit from the 40% another university has worked with and has got the confidence to actually go away and live away from home. And so outreach is very much part of this. It's aspiration. It's actually, not only perhaps higher education might not have even been something they've been considering before. And so you're putting in front of them something of why go to university, what's the purpose of going, why spend another 3 years in education, what can it lead to? So you're opening up the opportunities that are available to them. I think another key aspect is engagement with the fact that the curriculum, especially with the curriculum reforms in recent years, you're looking at a curriculum in schools that's very restricted. It's a lot of rote learning, there's a lot of examinations. It's completely different to the university experience and how students live at university. And if you're not engaging them and showing them that actually this extra 3 years is not an extra 3 years of school or what the education they're experiencing at that period in their time, it's actually something completely different. And actually that can be the spark. But I think honestly, actually, this is something where I can see not only is it potentially going to get me to a career, but it's something that actually is going to be really interesting that I can engage with. Information is a really important thing, and I think again this is where the blurred line can be between recruitment and outreach, that people get very focused on. We've got to go in and give them perspectives. This is us giving information. This is our outreach. We're giving us all this information, and we've got this young person in front of us, and let them tell them absolutely everything there possibly is to know about university in this one point. And that's not what outreach needs to be. It needs to be focused on what that young person is, where they are in their point of their educational career. And also thinking about what are the key messages that you would like them to take away. You can't bombard them with absolutely everything. It's about making sure the information is appropriate at the right time. And again, that could be something, you're not telling them everything all at once. It's about actually a drip feed over a period of years. So it's on again. So it's something that they're not discounting early on. And very much the pre-16 and post-16 engagement is very, very different. It looks completely different for different outreach. So what outreach is about informing students. Now, this is where I perhaps would be, my recruitment colleagues wouldn't be so keen on me saying this, but it is about making the right choices for them at that time. And so I would see outreach being just as successful if a young person turns around and says, actually, after this, experience of outreach, I'm not sure university is right for me now, or it might be right for me down the line, but actually making that active choice that actually that's something not for them. Because actually what you don't want is students coming into university and then dropping out. Not only is that bad for your retention, but actually that negative impact potentially on their peers who are alongside them, their siblings, people from their communities around their home, of somebody dropping out from university because they've not made the right choice. That negative impact can actually reach far further than that one person. So it is about outreach, it's about making sure they're completely informed, but they're making the right choices for them at that time. And we're dealing with students who have different needs. So some of them have a career in mind and they need to work out how they're going to get there. Other people know a subject they enjoy and they need to actually understand perhaps the vast variety of subjects out there that they can do. But actually most of what we're dealing with is students who have no idea what they're going to do, and that's why they've perhaps not even considered the university option until they've had some outreach, because they don't know what career they want to do. They're not quite sure what subjects they might go on and study. But the key difference, obviously you might be seeing these people through recruitment as well, but the key difference with outreach is it's the confidence factor. We know from some of the students that we work with, especially around the area that I'm working with now, it's not about the fact they haven't got the ability. These students are getting their level 2, they're getting their GCSEs, they're getting A levels or BTECs equivalents, and then they're dropping off. They're not going on to any level 4 qualification, they're not going into university, they're not going into higher apprenticeships, anything. And a lot of that is not about ability, it's about confidence. And that very much is what outreach is about. And it's interesting that Ollie was saying about that emotional connection. They've got to be able to picture that someone like them, from the area that they live in, from their peer group, could be someone who goes on to university. We know from talking to some of our schools and colleges that they have students who are getting the grades to become the lawyers, the vets, the doctors, things like that. But literally, they won't take that step to go on to university because they don't see anyone around them who's made that step. People haven't gone on to university. So without the outreach, and it's not only the students, it's the parents as well, about bringing them onto the campus, getting them to meet current students, things like that, so they can actually start feeling comfortable in that environment, that then they'll start considering that step. And just to sort of finish, it's the pre-16, post-16. So post-16 is going to be more recruitment. The students there are much more savvy, that they know that you're after students, and they kind of expect to be given the prospectuses and having those taster days and things on university. But still, you're still having to sort of show them. The transition from GCSE into sort of post-16 study can be very difficult for some students. And then to say to them, hi, do you fancy doing another 3 years of study? That can be really, really difficult for them. So that very much is, again, about that confidence building, about a lot of transition work that we do with outreach. But pre-16, it is completely different. It shouldn't be a heavy marketing activity at all, but it is about giving them that positive interaction early on. We know from research that at 7 years old, students are not only working out which subjects that they really like, but they're also discounting subjects and careers at 7 years old that it will not be for them. Now, I've worked at Portsmouth University, I will now work at Southampton University. We both have primary outreach teams that go out and work with year 5s and year 6s, and that's just absolutely key. The earlier, the better. That it's something, it's a potential for them. It's something, you're not saying to them, oh, you must go to university, otherwise, that's the only route for you at all. But it's actually, again, familiarising themselves, getting them onto campus, working with their parents. And it's also about making sure they're doing the right qualifications to gain it. Because, again, if you're working with them at year 12 and they're not on the right courses or they're not on the right track to gain entry into a university, well, you're too late. You needed to work with them before they were doing their GCSE choices, before they're making those choices at level 3, to make sure that actually they're on the right path, if that's the way they want to go, to be able to access the courses that you have. And it's very much, just to finish off, it's very much about inspiration into aspiration. It's about actually inspiring them about something that this is something that potentially not only could they do, that people like them can do, but it's then about turning that into an aspiration that they can actually work out what the route is for them. And that's why outreach is such a key part of the student life experience.